sticks, as you Hello guys, and welcome to another PKTV Productions. This is the new iPad Pro. This is the M1 edition, 12.9 inch, 5th generation with Wi-Fi and cellular. So this is the 512 gigabyte version, and we are going to be looking into this and we're going to be reviewing it, obviously, and we're going to see how this thing ticks. So without further ado, we're going to go straight into the iPad Pro M1 edition. Right, so this is the iPad Pro. So this is the M1 edition of the 12.9 inch model. This has got cellular plus 5G capabilities. As you can see, we've got the 2 cameras now. We have our LiDAR sensor and flash, as well as 1 and 2 times ultra zoom. And we also have our Thunderbolt port at the bottom there, which is very important. But let's have a look at what else we have in the accessories here. So we've got our general fast charging plug, our USB-C to USB-C plug. It's not a Thunderbolt cable. And we have our usual documentation here, our Apple stickers, various other documentation, and obviously it's not being color matched this time because we do have the space gray model. So let's take a few things out of the box here. So we've got a SIM ejector tool, obviously, but this is the iPad Pro. So we're going to be taking a look at the M1 edition. We're going to look through a couple of features here. Everything we will highlight throughout the video for this entire review. But first, let's turn on the iPad Pro. Right, as we go through the usual setup, we set up our Wi-Fi and everything like that, we will be greeted with a new update. Obviously, this being the latest version of 4.6. Obviously, in the future, we'll be looking at our iOS 15. But as you can see, it's all set up. And we're actually going to take a look at a few other things. I didn't want to go through the whole process of setup this time because it's an iPad. You know, your iPad is what your iPad is. But in general, it's pretty speedy. But we're going to go and check out how good these cameras are. So I'm going to show you what they're like. Right, so here are some sample photos from the actual iPad itself. This is 1x zoom, so not using the ultra wide. This is using the ultra wide. As you can see, this is the quality you are going to be getting out of the camera still wise. And this is 4K 30 frames per second in HDR ultra wide. So as you can see, the camera is decently good for what you get. Right, so special features. So the biggest thing that I love about iPads is the Sidecar ability. So this allows you to use your iPad as a secondary display, as you can see right here. So you can do this either by the USB-C to a USB-C cable, or you can do it wirelessly like I have it right here, as long as you're on a localized Wi-Fi network. Now I love this because I can actually use this screen as a secondary display. It works really well. The only difference that is supposedly a feature, but it's not a feature in this case, is the HDR screen. So I would have thought I was actually going to be able to do any type of video editing on the go with a HDR display, but unfortunately Apple have disabled this, which is really tragic considering this is a HDR display. But setting it up is really straightforward with Sidecar. As you can see right here, you can set whatever resolution that the screen supports, and you can pretty much go straight into it. So you can see I've got it hooked up to a M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch. That's my 16 gigabytes, and as you can see side by side, it works really well. Obviously, screen is a different sort of factor here, being the MacBook is very different to that. You can also imitate the touch bar on your iPad as well, which I thought was a pretty good feature. But other than that, guys, I definitely highly recommend the iPad for the feature. Its Sidecar has been around for a while, but it is brilliant on the new iPad Pro. Okay, so the Apple Pencil experience. So we've got two iPads here. We've got the iPad Air 2020 edition right here, and we've got also our iPad 12 iPad Pro 12.9 inch M1 edition. So we're going to try the Pencil out, and we're going to test it on both. Obviously, being the 120 hertz display that the new M1 iPad Pro has, we're going to be seeing how much of a latency it is on the actual iPad Air in comparison to the iPad Air. So let's see how this goes at 60 hertz here. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to try to demonstrate it, even though we're not seeing this quite easily. Obviously, you'd have to slow this down to see this, but there is slightly a bit of a latency there, obviously, with the iPad Air, as you can see, in comparison to the iPad Pro. But we're going to take a look back at the iPad Pro again, and we're going to show you a little bit more of the Pencil. And obviously, we can see here, if we can get it going, it is smooth and it is lag-free with absolutely nothing lost, which is what you want in terms of a pencil. So you're going to get the exact paper experience, I guess, the best thing to call this, on the iPad Pro M1 edition. So brilliant. The Pencil experience is amazing. Cheers. Alright, Thunderbolt accessories. Alright, now we want to know this because this is the iPad Pro M1 edition, so it has Thunderbolt on there. So I want to see if it hooks up to a Thunderbolt dock as well as a LG ultrafine 5K monitor. So we're going to test both of these out just by plugging them in. So they're daisy chained at the moment. So the dock and the actual Thunderbolt display are actually daisy chained, so I can connect one single cable. So we're going to connect this up directly, the Thunderbolt cable, and we should be able to see it come up right here. As you can see right here, it's come through the dock, and it's also come up with the display right there. So this is the 5K ultrafine display from LG, and we've got the Caltech Thunderbolt dock right there as well. So how do we get this to be utilized a bit more without it actually mirroring the entire thing? So we're going to bring up a Twitch application in a sec, but I'm just showing you right now. You can just use it for specific mirroring, but I'll bring up the Twitch application. That's probably a good example of what it looks like when you actually start using it on a too extended monitor basis. So there are other applications that do this, but we're going to test it with the specific videos that it puts out. So let me just pick this up and make sure it works okay. Right, so we have a video loaded up. So I've just got one of mine. As you can see right here, it's pushed it out to the actual external monitor at full screen. And we've got our controls basically on the iPad. So this is not just going through the monitor, it's actually going through my dock as well. So it's daisy chained through Thunderbolt. So it's got the full Thunderbolt capabilities, which is great. So you don't have to put one item at a time. You can get everything daisy chained through a Thunderbolt dock, as I have. And you can see right here, we're controlling the video feed, as you can see right here. So it's outputting to a full widescreen mode, as well as we're using the iPad as a secondary display. There are a couple of actual applications that utilizes a little bit better, but Twitch is usually a good demonstration for this type of thing. So that's Thunderbolt accessories. Now there's a whole bunch of them that we can go through, but Thunderbolt docks, Thunderbolt screens are working just fine. So let's see what else we can have a look at on the iPad Pro. Okay, benchmarks. So we're going to see what the iPad Pro can do on Geekbench. So here are the scores that I got from Geekbench 5. As you can see right here, it's very similar to the M1 Mac that I have currently as well. So we got pretty decent scores here. Obviously the M1 Mac does go up to a 10,000 or more, so it is 16 gigabytes of RAM, so it's obviously going to be a little bit better. Right, so the iPad Pro, this is the 12.9 inch version, the M1 chip. So is it worth doing? So drawing, doing general writing, doing general iPad stuff, well, it's very similar to that of many other iPads that have come before it. So as you can see, it is definitely one of those things that you want to think about. So if you like iPads, you like the latest and greatest version of it, then be my guest, go for the newest and greatest iPad. If you don't have an iPad, then yes, go for that big canvas, and you want that big canvas, then yes, go for the iPad Pro M1. But if you already have an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, you're not going to benefit a lot more unless there is something out there that utilizes it. At this point, I haven't found anything that utilizes anything. Especially that 8 gigs of RAM, and obviously the 16 gig model, how is that even going to be ever utilized? But as far as I'm concerned, as you can see right here, I am able to use it fairly useful for the pencil purposes. But is the iPad worth it, is probably what you're thinking. Well, that is entirely up to you. This is the PKTV channel, and this is Paul, and I thank you for watching my review on the iPad Pro 2021 M1 edition. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.